green and white.
So we had Todd winning last round.
Oh,
on the feature match.
Okay.
So was able to ride the little green and white guys.
Yeah, he's actually got some nice Avison restored updates to his deck. We're underway. We are.
And Devin is off to
Is that real?
a heck of a start. That is an
turn one
Ancient Tomb into Mox Diamond into Grim Monolith into Lodestone Golem, and Todd is just gonna be able to look at
Todd's
that
gonna play
and pass. So Dryad Arbor from Todd, and he could play a 0 cost. Devin swings for 5 with the Lodestone Golem, putting Todd well behind, and Todd can now pass back over.
Yeah, that's a crazy start from Devin.
This, I believe, is going to be important. He's got a Swords of Plowshares he's going to be able to play, and that's going to open the door back up for Todd to get back into this game. But
yeah,
Devin, absolutely.
Maybe.
Just kidding. Devin decides instead to simply follow up with another Lodestone Golem.
Devin decides to make you.
Todd looks at his hand, and he's got a... We haven't seen the whole contents of his hand, but he's going to need to have another Swords of Plowshares to get back into this.
Mother of Runes, comically bad.
Yes.
In this matchup against mono artifacts.
Quite funny. And now Devin.
Oh, jeez.
Good Lord, this is a draw. That is Devin's third Lodestone Golem, because the
starting
first
on turn one.
Yeah, the first one that he played is way off to the top of your screen due to that Swords to Plowshares. Yeah. Todd looks over his hand, and I mean, it's got to be time to start picking some stuff up. I mean, you've got 10 power of guys swinging, and Todd decides, let's go to game 2.
Do you know Devin Koepke as a player?
I know a little bit about him. See the name floating up towards the top a lot. He's
you know where he's from?
He's a regular. I do not know Devin's location. So Todd knows exactly what Devin wants to do, and so let's see what we've got on this
Todd ends up going to sideboarding. 100% Harmonic Sliver is coming in. That's a sliver that can destroy whenever any sliver comes into play, but that's the only one. It destroys an artifact or enchantment.
As a Green Sun Zenith target, is that just too late?
It might be. Yeah, it might be, but you still play it.
You've got to bring it in because it's got to be better than something.
I like Mazavith as an extra land.
Well, it doesn't tap for mana.
Right, but like it for Wastelands in Devin's deck, almost assuredly.
Yep.
It lessens the pressure of the Wastelands.
Well, the other thing that it can do is it could have held one of those Lodestone Golems at bay, so that he could have at least gotten a little more time to find an answer or to dig a little bit deeper.
And I like the Crocus, for example, just as an extra land.
Yes. Yep.
Even though he does have one Crocus in his main, that would be quite unfortunate if he drew both. But I think it's worth
upping your land count is worthwhile here
against a deck
you're
with
expecting to be punished.
It's not a ton of mana denial, but it's a significant amount. Wastelands, Chalice of the Void can shut off his cheap creatures.
Yep.
And then the Lodestone Golems that we saw in Force.
Yep.
What does Devin have for Todd?
He does have Sulfur Elemental, which has been very popular in sideboards. It sends the Mother of Runes and Talia just gone, even Mind Sensor. It really blanks a surprising number of Todd's creatures.
I would imagine Mother of Runes is the first card out.
Yeah.
For Todd, but like still
protection from not what I want.
Not artifacts.
So there's Devin has access to Sphere of Resistance and Phyrexian Revoker. With the lower average casting cost in Todd's deck, I'm going to guess the spheres are going to stay in the board.
I imagine those are more for combo.
But those Lodestone Golems were really strong.
Well, Sphere of Resistance doesn't attack for 5.
Yes.
That's the main appeal of Lodestone Golem.
Yep.
It's both a threat and a disruption piece.
Now Devin is running Koldatha Forge Master as that combo to sack out and go search up. He has Sundering Titan main deck. as well as Steel Hellkite, but that's not really his search. He would be searching out Sundering Titan. Out of the board, he has Platinum Empyrean as kind of a swap out for that. So, think he stays with the Sundering Titan? Do you think he does the Platinum Empyrean?
I would stick with the Sundering Titan if I were Devin. I mean, it's relatively close. Like, Todd has a reasonable amount of removal spells. He's going to have Swords of Plowshares and Khazali Pride Mages.
Yep.
So I would stick with the one with an immediate impact as opposed to one that has to stay in play. I mean, the change is if he had more Lightning Greaves, he has one copy of Lightning Greaves. It'd be okay. He has one copy of a lot of cards, actually. He has one copy of Spellskite, one copy of Staff of Domination, which is an infinite mana combo with Metalworker and sufficient artifacts. I believe the number is 4 artifacts.
Yep.
And then he has one Karn Liberated.
With the amount of mana that he can generate, it's
absolutely.
It's one of those cards
6
that
Moxes,
can just
4 Mox Diamond, 2 Mox Opal. You know, we saw the Grim Monolith, the Metalworker, and then plenty of 2-mana lands.
Yep. Now, Devin also has Blood Moon.
That is his only colored card.
Yep. And he has 4 mountains and 4 great furnaces to support that. So he's got plenty of red sources.
Yeah.
But that mountain is vulnerable to Sundering Titan if he does decide to combo into it.
Sure, once he has Sundering Titan, he's not worried about his
one land.
Unless he has Blood Moon, in which case he can just get more of his opponent's mountains. That's always a great combo. I always love in Cube Draft, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and Sundering Titan. So you always get like any land you want.
So Todd's gonna keep his hand, leads off with a Savannah.
Hopefully Todd no turn 1. That's significantly less imposing than...
That was a much less impressive turn 1 from Devin. Mountain.
Yeah.
Todd follows with a Windswept Heath, and not a whole lot going on, but he does have, it looks like, 2 Swords to Plowshares in hand. So he may be thinking about last game and just not getting blown out. So Savannah number 2 is fetched up with the Windswept Heath, and Todd drops to 19.
The thing about the a mono artifact deck, it invests so many of its resources into making mana that sometimes it might only have 2 to 3 threats a game.
Yeah.
And Todd having 2 Swords to Plowshares is actually covered against a lot of it.
Absolutely. And so Todd plays a 3rd Savannah and plays a Knight of the Reliquary. Devin played an Ancient Tomb on turn 2, surveying his hand here on turn 3. Great Furnace. Now has access to 4 mana, which really gives him a whole lot to do. Phyrexian Revoker came in from his sideboard, so he names Knight of the Reliquary and turns that right now just into a 3/3. Now Todd's got plenty of other ways, plenty of fetches to drop into his
wasteland and stuff like that.
And in fact, there is a wasteland.
Speak of the devil.
Now that's an interesting choice. That's going to shut off the Mox Opal.
Oh, he might. What he might do is actually go get a wasteland with the Knight now, and just get both lands.
Yeah. And so he's going to use.
He's doing, and knock Devin back into 1 mana land instead of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And Todd points out that Mox Opal is not very impressive right now.
No. In fact, if I were Devin, I would not have played the Mox Opal. Basically telegraph. Oh, he was going to play a Sulfur Elemental.
He had a move to make, but he needed to make it earlier.
Yeah, he needed to make it in response to the...
And there's a Talia, which is going to cause problems and would have been gone. There's 2 for a Grim Monolith.
It was a good draw for Devin, considering his... Oh, this was actually... He could not cast it. Talia is doing work.
Yep. And there's another Swords to Plowshares in Todd's hand. He's not too worried about what... if Devin wants to go with the plan that won him game 1, Lodestone Golem, it's not going to be as impressive. That is the 4th Savannah from Todd. So one of them was fetched out, but the other 3 were drawn naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Passes back over to Devin. Devin digging a bit. City of Traders from Devin.
And that'll probably enable Sulfur Elemental.
Yep. And Todd may be expecting it at this point, but there's not a whole lot to do against it. Split second.
One thing he... well, never mind. I thought Todd's Anderson is, I believe, at least a 5/5. Looks like 6/6.
Yep. He actually is a 6/6 from the 2 wastelands. The Savannah that he used to fetch that second wasteland. And the
Windswept Teeth.
The Windswept Teeth. So he actually goes up to 7/7 as he sacrifices the forest that he played. I'm going to guess this is wasteland number 3 to go after. Yep, and that maze did come in. That was a good call on your part. Sulfur Elemental will come down in response to the wasteland going after the City of Traders, and Talia is going to leave the fight.
Yeah. Sulfur Elemental has split second, which is pretty bizarre.
There is a second Knight of the Reliquary from Todd, and those are some imposing threats right now. Devin has got to start
lethal
doing
damage.
Stuff. He's forcing blocks next turn. So Devin looks like he's got another land. It's another City of Traders. 2 for that Grim Monolith we saw earlier.
2 for them.
2 for another Grim Monolith. And then follow up with Karn? What do you think?
Better.
Instead, I believe it will just be passed. Now that also turns on the Mox Opal.
So he's gonna, Devin's gonna have plenty of mana. It doesn't look like he has anything. He could cast almost anything in his deck, except for one of the 8 mana cards. And Todd just, I would just attack, force a chump block. One thing worth noting is one of the
he did have the swords, so he could have also sent the Sulfur Elemental away and swung in. And remember, it's +1, -1 from the Sulfur Elemental.
Yeah, so this is actually +1 power.
Yep. Means that those guys are big. So he's going to send away and go for another wasteland to go after the City of Traders. Now that's interesting because Devin really, he's got access to the mana that he needs. That does shut off untapping the Grim Monoliths. But Devin flips, says, needs an out.
Yeah.
Flips the Metal Worker and says, you know what, that's it. Let's go to game 3. I like being on the play anyways. So, worked out well in game 1. So Todd is able to keep a hand that was fairly light on action, but had some answers. And
it's a pretty solid hand.
Is that the hand you want to keep in this matchup?
I think it's pretty close. It's very weak against, say, a Chalice of the Void or an early Blood Moon, but other than that, it's the type of hand that is going to stop the draw that Devin had game 1.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of Devin's game, is he's going to try and play a card that you cannot beat. And Swords of Plowshares beats many of those cards. So having a hand with 2 would, and he still had some pressure. It just wasn't like early pressure. He had the 2 knights. So I think it was. I mean, I would definitely keep like 3 lands, 2 swords, a knight, and any other card. At least in this matchup.
Yep. And so Devin's going to look to try and repeat his game 1 performance, see whether or not he can pull another one of those.
Turn 1 Lodestone Golem.
Turn 1 Lodestone Golem.
Usually the 3 mana turn 1 plays are impressive. I mean, and he just one up that one, got a 4 mana turn 1 play.
Those are the plays that you walk away from the tournament talking about.
Yeah, of course, of course. That's why you play a deck like that, so you could talk about your, insane draws or whatever on camera. Yeah, no joke. I mean, I'm sure he has other things on his mind, like making a top 8 of this tournament, and
absolutely,
still trying to win the tournament. So he's probably thinking about that. But after the fact, he'll definitely have at minimum, a nice story to tell, and maybe even a trophy.
Now, what's interesting is we have the only The only time that we saw Metalworker was being flipped onto the table was the last card that Devin was looking for.
Yeah, the too late card.
But that card is pretty much the heart of this deck.
Yeah, he has lots of ways to play it on turn 2, even turn 1. He has 8 2-mana lands, 4 Ancient Tube, 4 City Traders. In addition, he has 6 Moxes, 4 Mox Diamond, 2 Mox Opal. Well, Mox Opal isn't always turned on turn 1.
Yep.
But like, and then he also has a Grim Monolith to turn 2 mana into 3 on turn 1.
Yep.
And that's just a Metalworker on turn 2 is just like an untapped Metalworker is just going to vomit out the rest of the hand. Remember, I played in the Tinker Pro Tour, and I famously played 3 Metalworker in my deck. I get a lot of flack for that.
Obviously, the right number.
Yeah. Oh, you had to cut something for the 4th Master Core.
So, Devin and his deck, as you said, if he gets that early Metalworker, he's able to dump his hand.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of an all-in situation.
Because it was a very all-in
Metalworker,
deck.
And so that hand that Todd had with the pair of swords to plowshares
would have been
almost ideal for answering something like that.
Mm-hmm. If anything, if you see like a turn 1 Metalworker for Devin, and like the rest of his, like say it's off of like a Mox Diamond and his Ancient Tomb, I might just let him have the Metalworker, try and kill all of his huge cards.
Yeah.
Instead of
it's the old plan that Carlos Romel came up with for back when Psychotog was huge. You can have all the card draw that you want. There's only 3 cards in your deck that I would need to counter.
And it's a little different. There's only let's see. There's a Steel Hellkite, 4 Golem, 4 Wormcoil, 1 Sundering Titan, 4 Forge Master, 1 Staff of Domination, 1 Karn. So I mean that's not a small amount. It's about 16.
Well, there's also one of the things that's interesting as Devin takes a mulligan here, looking for that explosive hand, and that can hurt Devin a lot more than some other decks because he needs those cards in hand to power the Metalworker. And that's actually what I was just about to talk about. A lot of Devin's cards kind of keep working, but Metalworker, if you use it to play out your hand, it no longer has any of the power that makes it such an explosive card.
I mean, the counter argument to that is you don't have any cards to play, so you don't need mana.
Yeah.
So, and most of it's, and even then, like when you're in top deck mode, it'll still make 2 mana.
Yep.
Because everything except for the 1 card can be revealed to it.
It's going to be revealed.
Yeah. Metalworker, for those of you who don't know, is a 1/2 artifact creature for 3 mana. You tap it and reveal any number of artifacts and make 2 mana for each artifact you reveal. So it's just a huge mana engine. 1 card mana engine, if you will. But only playable in mostly artifact decks.
Yep.
I got a little...
You've got to commit to it in order to make it powerful, but this deck absolutely does. So now that looks like
a mulligan.
Throwing away again.
I saw the Singleton Staff of Domination in that hand.
Looked like he had a couple of lands, but not much to do.
Okay, I couldn't see the full hand. I mean, I would probably keep a couple hands that can top deck threats and play them if I've already mulliganed. Especially on 5.
On the play.
Yeah.
With Todd keeping at 7, you've got to think what's your best 5-card hand? Is your best 5-card hand into Lodestone Golem on turn 1? Because he probably kept a hand that deals with that.
Yeah. right, 5 good ones. Let's get a real game here.
All right, so Devin picking up his cards one at a time this time. 4 and 5.
That's all we get.
And decides, yep, got to keep it. Wasteland to lead off.
Looks like
Misty Rainforest from Todd. Now, Wasteland from Devin is not as bad as for some other decks. Colorless mana is all he needs.
Right.
So a lot of times when you see a Legacy deck leading off with Wasteland, it it actually is not good at all. It means that they don't have the right color mana. With Devin's deck, not relevant at all.
Not that big.
Todd drops a Windswept Heath. Decides to do 2 searches at once. Finds himself a forest and a plains, which protects him from that Wasteland and its friend who joined it. That Chalice set to 1 though shuts off his Swords to Plowshares. It also knocks out Noble Hierarch, Mother of Runes, and
technically
Ulenvald Tracker, but that's I don't think that's very relevant.
I don't think that's in the Mother of Runes is probably not in the deck either.
Yeah. And also
I'm not sure what's in the deck.
The Singleton Path to Exile. It also means that he can't Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Armor.
Right. Yeah, he's gonna have to spend 2 mana.
Yep.
On his Green Sun Zenith.
And here's Talia. And Devin stalls out a bit, and it looks like Talia is going to start getting across the red zone. And there's a Knight from Todd.
The best card in this Maverick deck, in my opinion.
It was a really underrated card in Standard for a long time. And for a long time, there were a few decks. New Horizons was one of the first ones in Legacy to really pick it up and run with it. And it's just so powerful.
Yeah.
So, Windswept Heath from Todd, searching out a land, finds a Savannah, taps it.
I believe I saw
Savannah.
in Umezawa's Jeet in Todd's hand, and he's looking at 5 mana to play and equip it. Or maybe just, I doubt he's going to put Devin back in the Stone Age. Pride
There's
Mage.
A Pride Mage.
Maybe
Pride
he
Mage
is.
Pops the Golem, and I think those 2 Wastelands are not long for this world, taking out the City of Traders and another Wasteland. Or...
No, he had to pay 1 extra for the Pride Mage because of the Lodestone Golem.
Yep. And so takes out actually one of the Wastelands rather than the City of Traders, because if Devin plays another land, he's going to
lose the City of
take
Traders
it out
anyway. Yeah.
Devin contemplating, trying to figure out what he's got to do, and it looks like he may have to be knocking out his own city.
If he even has another land. He missed a land drop before dropping the city, so.
So there's a Blood Moon.
He's shaking his head.
And
he doesn't like
cards.
it. Yeah. He's not happy with this situation.
And remember, this is out of a mulligan to 5 for Devin, so he was already behind the 8 ball.
For sure.
Todd's been loading up his graveyard with lands, which is making that Knight of the Reliquary a serious threat. Already 7/7.
And Devin's looking at playing Metalworker or finding his way up to 6 mana to play a Windcoil Engine.
Go from Devin.
Not the play that's you're interested in. Interesting. Todd had a
Gideon.
Yeah, just drew a Gideon Jura.
And so there's the other Wasteland used. There's a Caracas from Todd. Swings in, and I believe that's for 10 now.
Oh,
and another Knight, and this, I'm surprised Devin didn't again, just flip it onto the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because that had to be an out.
That had to be about 5 cards there. I think Devin's just making sure he's
There's not a card
dead.
on his deck list that gets him out of this one.
There you go.
Yep.
And that's the match. Lightning quick match.
Yep.